Double-sided knives, great in any kitchen. Bye, Brad here from Sakai Ichimonji Mitsuhide, an Osakan traditional kitchen knife manufacturer. In this video, we're actually looking at a less traditional style of knife, the double-edged knife. They're sometimes called Western-style knives or yo-bocho in Japanese, and in this video, we'll introduce a few key types of yo-bocho designed for those who prefer either Western cuisine or are more used to Western-style cutting techniques. We'll also talk about a few kinds of knives that are useful irrespective of the cuisine you're making, and knives that can allow you to expand your culinary potential or just have more fun cooking at home. By the end of this video, you'll know precisely what knives are most useful to you or what to add to your current collection if you're already familiar with cooking at home. Timestamps are available if you want to jump into a particular chapter, but we recommend watching the whole thing to learn as much as possible. On that note, let's hop into it. The first and by far most recent kitchen knife is the Santoku knife, and it's a typical kitchen knife you'll find in most homes in Japan, to the extent that sometimes this is also called the Japanese chef's knife. As long as you have this, you can more or less handle all home cooking. The length is just right, ranging from 165 to 180 millimeters, which allows it to cut all kinds of food without it being too cumbersome or scary to use. And a special point is the height of the blade here. This is a very tall knife. In Japan, they call it very wide instead, so be sure to look up both characteristics if you're looking at Japanese information. This allows you to use the knife for a longer time as you sharpen it and it wears down, but also allows you more space between the handle and the ground, preventing you from accidentally scraping your knuckles. The Santoku is a great long-term use knife and a brilliant starting point for any collection. Now, as a funny fact, I've got a lot of Western-style handled Santoku here, and you might think we're in Japan, people are going to buy this more Japanese style, but it's actually kind of inverse. Japanese home users actually tend to use this Western style a lot more, whereas you'll find that it's mostly our overseas audience that really enjoy this wa Santoku, or Santoku with a Japanese handle instead. Bit of a surprise for you. Next up is the Gyuto knife, sometimes called the Western-style chef's knife. While yes, Gyuto is spelled using the kanji for cow and beef, that doesn't mean it's exclusively used for that. In fact, it's a very good multi-purpose knife for other meats, fish, and vegetables too. Compared to the Santoku at least, the tip is quite sleek and pointed, allowing the Gyuto to do finer, more detailed work much easier. Might be for this reason that the Gyuto is used more than the Santoku in professional settings, and wide type Gyuto exists as well if you want to keep the benefit of that higher knuckle clearance that the Santoku has. The Gyuto also comes in a much larger variety of sizes, starting from 180mm and going up to double that length, a whopping 390mm in size. This is really heavy too. Of course, there's many intervals in between, and the benefit of this is that you can buy the length or size that's most appropriate for you. Do keep in mind that we can't send anything larger than 300mm, so if you want something that long, just send us a message first, right? But for the home, we find that 180mm and 210mm are the most common sizes, whereas 210 and 240 are tied for being most popular professionally. To that end, 210mm is a great choice for gifts too, because it helps both at home and in professional settings. What about those really large ones? Who uses that? We do actually have some chefs in Japan that do. They use ones over 300mm in size, such as a particular okonomiyaki restaurant owner here. We've written about her on our website and interviewed her in Japanese too, if you want to learn a little bit more about how Japanese restaurants work. Next up is my favorite type of Western-style knife, the petty. It's a small, multi-purpose knife and is more or less shaped like a scaled-down Gyuto. These come in two major sizes, 125 and 150mm, but we do sell a 180 as well. The 125 is perfect for working in your hands, such as peeling or making incredibly fine small cuts, or cutting over a cooking pot directly. The 150mm feels more like a typical multi-purpose knife as it's more versatile and can cut a large variety of things. Let's go back to that 210mm Gyuto as a very common house knife. Now, it's very easy to just use that to prepare everything, but if you suddenly realize that you need to make some small adjustments or do a little extra detailed work or maybe even cut up something like green onion for some garnish, it's really convenient to be able to pull out a much smaller knife that's easier to use for that purpose. Now, the knife I use at home is actually more of a Santoku, but I find it very useful to switch between a Santoku and a petty for cutting up fresh herbs or preparing garnishing for serving. We eat a lot of fruit in my household as well, and it's the perfect size for quickly peeling and working with those. Now, I was actually going to use the petty for this example, but they're so popular we've sold out, so I'm going to use this instead. The Gyuto knife we're showing here has this special dimples or ferrules on the side, and it's sometimes called a hollow ground or Granton edge. And this is made during the production process by grinding the side of the knife against a special wheel and then measured for optimum positioning. This Granton edge prevents a vacuum from being created between the knife and the food, allowing for more smooth cutting. It's really a personal preference or not as to whether you really want the Granton edge on your knives or not. Some of us in our company like it, some of us don't. It's really up to you. And most of our Western style knives are available in both options. Next up is the Sujihiki or slicing knife. These are great for slicing any meat or working trimming fat and sinew, hence its name translating to muscle cutter in Japanese. These are used in a lot of situations, from typical Western cuisine to yakiniku restaurants, butcher shops, and even sometimes as a replacement for yanagiba in izakaya. Many of our customers also use these for barbecue, brisket, roast beef or turkey carvery, and kind of things like that. If we compare it to a Gyuto of the same length, you'll see that the Sujihiki, compared to this Gyuto a bit shorter for now, is quite a bit less wide, which means it will slice through food with much less force and friction. These are mostly used in professional settings, whereas in Japan we don't really see them in the home as much because meat purchased here is often prepackaged in small sizes or even fully pre-sliced. But internationally we do see them used in the home more frequently, especially for those who love to barbecue or smoke meat a lot in a country where meat is sold in larger blocks. The Sujihiki is a knife that's very fun to use, and that's important, especially if you do eat yakiniku or work with larger blocks of meat, like I said before. Amongst professionals, both 240 and 270 models are pretty popular, and if you want the true performance of a Sujihiki, we do think a 270mm is a better choice. But 240 is more popular and probably a safer choice. If we do a quick comparison here and compare a 270mm Sujihiki to a 270mm yanagiba knife, which is a traditional sashimi and slicing knife, the difference between those two comes down to mostly technique. The 270mm yanagiba, despite its length, is actually not too difficult to use in the home because you pull the knife towards you in one stroke with your elbow, moving in just one direction. The Sujihiki, on the other hand, tends to use more of a back and forth slicing motion, requiring more room to do correctly. So a 240mm Sujihiki can often be easy to use. It's really up to you. A dimpled Sujihiki like our Sword FE10 here is actually really popular when it comes to slicing smoked salmon. In fact, sometimes you'll see these in Japan referred to as salmon gata or salmon type. Some veteran chefs will also use knives like that for all of their multi-purpose needs, but not all Sujihiki are suitable for this. Feel free to ask us if you want more information. In a sense, I'd say the Sujihiki is just a really fun knife to use. It has lots of room to grow into, and you can really expand your culinary ability by using a knife like this. Do keep in mind, though, I've said all these long lengths, how short do they get? Well, Sujihiki kind of stop at 240. Anything less than that is still a Sujihiki, this one here, but they go by a different name. They're just called a slicer. In Japanese, it's also called slicer. So if you're looking for a Sujihiki that's a bit on the shorter side, change the name you're looking for. Look for a slicer instead, and you'll probably find one there. Last but certainly not least, we have this, the Honesuki knife. It's the one most people tend to be least familiar with, and it's quite different compared to all the others we've talked about. This is mainly used for butchering and breaking down meat. If we look at our purchase data, at least for our Japanese customers, we actually see that half of the Japanese professional chefs that purchase this work in yakitori restaurants, whereas the other half, they are mostly in kind of Western cuisine, where you might see things like Santoku or Gyuto or these Japanese handled style knives are used. But aside from breaking down meat, Honesuki can also be used for filleting fish, as they are quite a bit thicker than their other double-sided counterparts. But they aren't as thick as something like a traditional single-edged deba knife, so you can't use them for really rough tasks. You still need to be a little bit careful with them. This knife is useful for more than just the kitchen though. Fishermen benefit from the Honesuki greatly. The Honesuki's tip is really stiff and strong, making it useful for removing fish gills and other innards as well. You can even use it on site while fishing to spike the brain or clean the fish out, switching to high carbon steel deba knives when you take the fish back home. The separation of tasks can make the Honesuki incredibly convenient, both in Western and in Japanese cuisine, especially if you're getting the ingredients yourself. We get a lot of international customers buying Honesuki to break down chicken as well. As my Japanese counterpart reports in his version of this video, and go watch it if you want, a lot of South American customers visit our store immediately asking for a knife for pollo, and it's almost always the Honesuki they leave with. And it's an important lesson for us to know how to say various simple ingredients in many different languages, because cuisine is pretty worldwide after all. So on that note, we've shown off 5 key yo-bocho or Western style kitchen knives. The Santoku, the Gyuto, the Peri, the Sujihiki, and again the Honesuki here. Some are multi-purpose and some are more specific, but herein lies the final question. What is best for Western cuisine? Or maybe which one is best for you? If you want a complete solution, having a Gyuto, a Peri, a Sujihiki, and a Honesuki will allow you to do almost anything in the world of Western food. If you have a smaller kitchen, a Peri will suffice. Or if you're looking for the best cost performance, a smaller Peri and a longer Gyuto can serve really well. For those who fish their ingredients too, or work with lots of whole chicken, a Honesuki can be a valuable secondary addition to that. But this is just the surface of the bottomless lake of information that is kitchen knives though. So feel free to take a look at our website articles and social media to learn more about in-depth information in kitchen knives. Of course though, we reckon more than anything else to visit a knife store like us and feel them in your hands, especially one that's like this big, right? To feel what is best for you. Come visit us and ask us if you have any questions, or watch this video here to see how we actually make our best-selling Sword FB10 Western cuisine knives completely from scratch. It's a really fascinating journey, and hopefully it shows you that despite their appearance, these knives are still artisan-made and indeed best in class. Okini!